It's time for the Cutmaster Cast podcast.
Trying to be the guy from UFC.
Oh my God, I don't know.
It's time.
It's time. That's right. Today's podcast episode, all about the wedding humor. We're going to get into some funny stories and situations that have happened with us in the past.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fun things. I felt like today's episode was a lot lighter, and we were able to just tell about some funny experience that we've had in the past.
Yeah. We get into like Nacho Libre, the 80s.
80s, Dirty Dancing references.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's
a whole
so
bunch
good
of
today.
different things. A bunch of funny stories. And I like the grab bag because it's all 80s tracks. So it's a good. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Back to the music.
Back to the music is all 80s tracks. Our grab bag is all of the funny stories.
Yep.
Let's do it. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, baby.
What do you like better, Christmas or wedding season?
Mr. Gray.
Yes. The answer would be wedding season.
Bingo.
Well, you've just inspired me to hire a DJ, so thank you.
Oh, well, good luck finding a DJ who can move and shake like this.
You are now listening to Cutmaster Cast.
That's right, peeps. It is time. Welcome back. Another round of the Cutmaster Cast, your wedding industry podcast. My name is Chris Romero.
What's up, everybody? My name is Tony Pacheco.
And we are your family-friendly neighborhood DJs with Cutmaster Music out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Thanks again for listening, and welcome once again to any first-time listeners.
Yeah.
I think we're up to like 22
We're
solid
up there.
listeners
I
right
like
now.
that, though. Family-friendly DJs.
That's-
We are. We're all around, but
Totally.
I feel like, we are definitely.
We're all about the kids.
Yeah.
So once again, if this is your first time joining us, we like to hit 3 different areas on our show, including our weekly events, wedding industry topics that include tips and tricks and hacks in the industry geared toward our vendors out there, and then the music. At the end of every episode, we like to take it back to the music, taking it back. So is that what it's called? Back to the music?
Yeah, definitely. We got back to the music,
know.
back to the song hits. We take it back. We do a bunch of different things. I like what we're actually taking it back to the 80s this time. So
back to the 80s.
Yeah. So once we get into our back to the music section, you guys will see what we're talking about. But that one's gonna be a cool one.
We're gonna break out the Aquanet, the neon leggings, leg warmers, and maybe we'll do some jazzercise later on.
The 80s were fun, man. I mean, I was never around, but I can't say that they were fun. The 80s looked fun.
What?
I know, right? I will say if there was one like decade I'd want to go to, it'd be the 80s or the 50s.
Yeah. Well,
Fortunately, I can't.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll have a time machine one day,
Well, you never know. One day.
But the 80s seemed fun,
They were pretty fun. I mean, I was young. That was elementary school days for me.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. But it's really funny. One of these days I'll have to bring in. I'm picturing an old picture in elementary school. And those of you that were 80s elementary school kiddos know what I'm talking about. For Halloween, they used to have these parades right around the classroom, and you'd come to school dressed up in your Halloween costume. And there's this picture that I'm thinking of. And if you look at these Halloween costumes, I am not kidding you. They are the scariest things ever. Like Casper the Ghost looks like he's gonna like murder you.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the costumes back then were pretty like
Scary.
They were scary. They were legit scary looking.
Well, do you have like a favorite Halloween costume?
That I've done in the past.
Just overall.
Overall?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about overall, but I've done some good
Maybe
ones.
as a kid?
I was Jesus one year.
Nice. That's funny. That's a good one.
Oh my dude, I'm going straight to hell anyway, peeps. But yeah, I probably shouldn't say this. I won't say the church where, but I was able to get a hold of an actual altar boy.
Oh man,
robe.
Yeah,
and I threw on the Jesus beard.
Nice.
And we went out and partied. This was like in college years.
Yeah, I've seen it. People be wearing nun outfits, Jesus outfits, and all that. So
I was
that's how it goes.
It was I was an amazing Jesus. Yeah, drank a lot of wine that night. But
That's funny.
anyways, All right, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our events this week. I know, Tony, you had another wedding.
I did. I was at the Four Seasons in, I think it's technically Tesuque, Santa Fe, or no, Tesuque, New Mexico, but it's like just up north,
Right outside of Santa Fe,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, up in the hills.
It's
up there.
hidden. It really is. You go up. You're driving up the freeway, and then you just you exit to Tesuque, and then you drive up for a little bit and drive through the mountains, and then you're like, oh, this beautiful hotel. Look at that. But it was cool. We were there from. I got there around like 3 o'clock or so. Ceremony started at 6, and it was a great day. The weather was perfect. Like it was that perfect warm coolness right in the middle. The ceremony where they have the ceremony site, really beautiful. The sunset was really nice. And what I always like is when they bring in a personal officiant, somebody that's connected to them, but also too, he was so nervous. Like, oh my God, he had
somebody he had never done it before.
never done it before. So it was cool to like have a guy in, but also too, he was so nervous. He was like, are you guys good with the mics? I don't like hearing my voice. I want to make sure everything sounds good. And I was like, you're going to do just fine, man. Like, don't worry about it. Have you practiced? And he's like, yeah, I practice a lot. And I was like, then you're going to do just fine. And then they were all so worried about the order of the processional. Nobody knew. They didn't have a rehearsal. I told him you need to have a rehearsal, at least just practice walking. And they're like, no, we'll be okay. And then sure enough, wedding day, they're like, well, what do we do? Well, okay, so let's talk about the order. You go ahead and line up. I'll cue you guys when to walk and all of that. And so they were very grateful for the organizational aspect that we brought to the table,
Right.
because like they didn't have a planner or anything. Four Seasons does a good job at just overall organization of the day, but stuff like that, right? Processional orders or things like that, they're not thinking about.
Get a planner, peeps.
For real, it just helps. They really think about all those little things that you don't think of. But yeah, the catering staff over there. I met the guy. His name is Billy. He's like the kind of lead sales there at Four Seasons, but he's a really cool guy. Helped out with a lot, and then they have a lot of just great staff there. They're very consistent, and they always take care of me. So that's what's cool. And it was awesome too. When I walked in there, the lead, he came up to me and he's like, dude, one of my bartenders said, hey, it's going to be a dope party tonight. And then he's like, why? And he goes, look at the DJ. And then it's me. And so,
They're giving you the love.
yeah, right.
off
So
the
they're
bat, huh?
excited. Yeah. And we killed it. It was such a home run that the guy, Billy, came up to me after and was like, you have to be on our recommended vendor list. So gave him our card and now we're on that list. So,
Nice.
yeah.
That is what I'm talking about right
Yeah,
there.
trying.
Yeah.
We're trying to get on every recommended vendor list because that's really the way in. I was very satisfied when he came up after. Yeah, right? Yeah.
There we go.
I was like, heck yeah, you can have my card. But we worked with a great photographer out there. She did a lot of good work. But she also, like, there's times where I felt like we were trying to lead the same event in two different ways. But I also understand where she was coming from. So I tried to be respectful and give her what she needed, but also too there were moments where we probably could have done things a little bit more efficiently, but I didn't want to come across as too strong or too controlling in terms of like timeline, because like we say, we keep it like light and nice and loose and try to be as
Flexible.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for, as possible. I've worked with this photographer in the past, and one thing she really talks to me about is not being rushed. And she's like, "Don't rush me. I need to have all the time I can need." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. You got it, right? Like that's no problem." But then also too, she was there. She was supposed to be only there till 9, and she left at like maybe 9:30, 9:45, and it's because we didn't move forward with things, and I was thinking we need to start moving forward with like the cakes and the dances, and she was like, "Oh, it's okay, we've got time," and all of this, and like I don't think she understood how the night was supposed to go. We only had 2 hours of open dance, so I wanted to make sure we started at 9 because we were done at 11. But overall, I feel like we collaborated well. This was a good wedding from the past wedding. I felt like we were butting heads a lot of time, and that happens from time to time with couples because I feel like a lot of photographers have PTSD from other DJs, and they are so worried that they're going to have another bad experience because of other experiences that they've had in the past. And so they want to make sure that they get what they need, because I totally understand if they're rushed, then their product isn't delivered at the way that they want to deliver it because of what the DJ was doing, right? If a timeline says grand intros at 7:30 and the DJ does it at 7:30, but they're taking sunset photos, the photographer is going to be pretty pissed, and I totally understand that. But I think that was where it kind of came from, was she had, I don't know how to phrase it, yeah, but like PTSD from other DJs who had really given her like, oh God, I'm gonna be working with this and it's gonna be horrible and I'm gonna have to run the whole show, and it was interesting.
Yeah, I think that brings up a good point though, because it's a two-way street though, and this is where I feel that I don't know if it's newer photographers, videographers, if I see this more or not. Or if it's a type, like just, really controlling A types that don't understand that there's other aspects and components to making a night successful, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think this is for any vendor. Like for us as DJs, if we just get stuck in a party box and don't take the photography into consideration, well, then you get pictures that have dots all over the bride's forehead and spots all over her dress, or their faces are green, right? That's us not being considerate and even thinking about photography. All we care about is, lighting on the dance floor and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, and then it's in the reverse. So in this case, photographers, and this happened with my cousin at her wedding, photographer took them away for sunset pics, and then they're gone for almost an hour. And people left. A lot of people left. They were bored, and we weren't starting anything until they got back. And so that's the photographer being inconsiderate of the timeline and what else is going on and the experience for all those guests and people there, right?
Yeah.
So I think, it sounds like the more you've worked with this photographer, it sounds like you're kind of getting more kind of aligned.
Yeah.
Which is good, and it's a better overall client experience. But like you said, if the couple is expecting a good solid 2 hours of open dancing, and that's what's important to them as well,
Yeah.
and you cut a half hour into that, a half hour makes a big difference between an hour and a half dance floor and 2 hours, right?
It was tricky. Yeah.
So-
I felt like the bride was really concerned too about her guests eating late, but she also didn't consider that you were starting your whole day late. You started your
Right.
ceremony at 6:00, so
That's late. Yeah.
as your night goes, you're probably gonna eat around 7:45, 8:00. And then she was like, "Oh, that's gonna be really late for dinner." But they had hors d'oeuvres, they had snacks and all of that. So what we did is when I talked to her about the timeline, I was like, okay, we're gonna start inviting guests around 7:30, 7:40 into the space, and I try to like paint a picture for them so they envision how long it takes to move people from one room to the next. And then she once she heard that and like saw on paper, okay, 7:40 is when they'll be in, and like starting, hopefully we'll be eating by 7:50 or whatever, like that'll be good. I'm happy with that. But as weddings day go, we know what to expect.
Right.
I knew they weren't going to be back until 8:00 because they're going to take them way the heck out there, take some photos, and then come back. But instead of inviting them to the dinner space and have them sit there for 20 minutes, just let them stay at the cocktail hour for another 20, right? So then they don't feel like there's...
They're not paying attention to time at that.
Yeah, exactly.
that
It's
point.
just an extra 20. And then we invited them in at like 7:40, 7:45, and we did it right away. Grand intro. It was perfect, and nobody was the wiser on what time dinner was supposed to start. The bride wasn't concerned. And so, yeah, just being aware, I think that was nice because of having those experiences and understanding, like, okay, like we have 7:30 for grand intro, but no worries. I totally understand how you need to go take those shots. You got to do your thing. In my experience, I now understand these things take time.
Right.
So let's make sure we're managing the crowd in a strategic way and not just moving them from one place to the other,
Right.
So, but other than that, home run, very good party, only 2 hours open dance. The parents were a hoot. They were just I've always found like when the parents are partiers, the whole party really helps. You can tell, you can feel it in the family.
Yeah, it's
too.
an energy, right?
Yeah, it really is an energy. So they were really great. The dad loved me. He was such a cool guy. He's like, Tony's got us. We're in good hands. He's just a really cool guy. So overall, great wedding, 4 seasons. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was very, very happy with it.
Nice.
Mhm.
All right, cool. I didn't have anything exciting going on this weekend event-wise. Once again, another basketball tournament with the kiddos.
Nice.
So,
How'd that go? Did you guys win?
yeah, no, we didn't. It was, it was a
Getting them in there though.
it was a
Playing?
successful weekend.
That's
yeah, I mean, we got better, and that's
Yeah,
what it's
that's
all
what
about
it's
with
about.
the kids. So, got a couple of more weekends of basketball tourneys left, and then I get to join you in the event chat here.
Heck yeah.
So I'll enter the chat room with events here one of these days.
Nice.
But all right, well, so good. Let's go ahead. Where you at next this coming weekend?
Oh, Albuquerque, Sandia.
Ooh.
I'm always in Santa Fe, so it's great. I love Santa Fe. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the night, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, then you got to drive home.
Yep.
So that's where it's always kind of tricky, but I love Santa Fe. Such a beautiful space. I will go back there every time. But when you get one in Albuquerque, you're like, yes, and it's done at 10.
You know what?
I'm like, let's go.
I was just telling my wife a couple of days ago. I was like, you know what we should do? I get these crazy ideas, right? And I was like, we should purchase a small home or something like that in Santa Fe, just as an Airbnb, and then we can use it for Cutmaster when we have events there, and you just stay overnight, right? And then come back and not have to worry about it. So maybe look out for the Cutmaster Music Airbnb rental in the future in Santa Fe.
It's smart, because then when you don't have events, you just rent it out to
Right.
whoever.
Exactly.
Nice.
So, and we can have it Cutmaster Music themed.
Records,
Yeah.
pictures of Cutmaster.
In the middle of Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be like
Right in the heart of
John
downtown.
Wayne.
John Wayne.
John Wayne record.
DJing.
Or who is it?
Billy the Kid.
Yeah. Ooh, you could have some Billy the Kid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm thinking of music.
Oh.
Like I don't
Al
know.
Hurricane.
Country. Ooh, there you go. So
Yeah.
you can make a New Mexican
That's
vibes.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, I
You
like
could
that.
go country, right? You could
Country,
do
New Mexican,
whatever, yeah.
Willie Nelson, whatever
Really?
floats your boat.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's we're gonna jump into this week's topic, and we're keeping it light this week. It's all about the humor, so we're gonna do wedding humor, and Tony and I are gonna discuss a few just kind of funny stories and situations we've had happen at weddings that we can think of in the past. And we pulled a few up here off of the internets as well, and we're gonna chat about those. So and just we're keeping it light this week. So
we've gone deep in the topics
We
these
have.
past couple episodes. So
it's been a little deep. We're gonna keep it light this
right?
week,
Keep it a little lighter.
and so why don't you tell us your first story
Okay.
that you've had?
So this is every time as a wedding DJ, you get asked the question, "What's the craziest wedding? What's the funniest thing you've ever seen?" And my default story is always, I had a bride and groom. They wanted to do it's Dirty Dancing, right? The time of
Yeah.
my life. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So they wanted to do the Dirty Dancing where he holds her up, Patrick Swayze holds her up, and
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
nobody puts the baby in the corner, but he tried to put her up, and it wasn't like there's no way this is gonna happen. I felt confident.
Who is this?
The bride and the groom
This is the bride and the groom.
for the first dance.
Grand
Grand intro into
Okay.
first dance.
And we're gonna lift bride in the air.
And it was supposed to be this beautiful time of my life. And then he tried to do it once, and it didn't work. And then so he tries it again and gets her up, and it was like, yeah. And then no, she fell on top of him. Yeah, luckily she didn't like go forward, and he fully dropped
Yeah,
her.
that could get ugly.
He like took her in, and he boom fell on his back, and it was
What kind of? Do you remember what kind of dress she was wearing? Like, was it a poofy one? Was it like kind of?
It wasn't massive, but it also wasn't like a tight dress either.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a happy medium. But yeah, I remember what really was felt was the thump, his back hitting the dance floor, and boom, you know what I mean? And it was just like,
Man.
right? And you heard just the oh across.
Oh yeah, the crowd. Oh.
So it was really, really funny.
Oh.
They got back up, and they did kind of like a curtsy about something. And then everybody clapped, and I was like, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for their first dance. And then we just kept moving on. But
Oh my goodness.
luckily, it was the grand intro into first dance. So there was nothing after, right?
Yeah.
So they were able to go sit
They
down.
could go recover and take some ibuprofen.
Have a
and,
seat. It was one of the funniest things. This has happened a little while ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yikes.
I'm trying to remember where because I couldn't remember. I feel like it was Sandia, but might have been Hotel Albuquerque, Franciscan. That's like standing out. But one of those 2 rooms. But that was whenever anybody asks me about that's my go-to story because that's the craziest thing. It's hilarious.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy.
What about you?
Okay, so mine, this is kind of, I guess, a go-to as well, just because it's the one that stands out to me. And I don't know why. I mean, it's not like super crazy, but it was just really funny in the moment. And I remember one of our attendants, DJs in the past, Jocelyn, she was working with me, and I was doing just, grand entrance, introduction, and typically I'll end the introduction by, something along the lines of, and once again, welcome to Los Poblanos, enjoy the meal this evening. Something like that,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Well, I totally have a brain fart at the end, and everything just like, leaves my brain. It turns into mush.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached whatever I was saying, I just had like nowhere to go, and I had this awkward pause. I was like, and then this is what I said, like verbatim, and then we'll eat. and then I just walked off. I walked off, and and Jocelyn brings up the music. We start playing like just the dinner music.
Yeah.
And I walked up to her and I went, I just said that, didn't I? And she looks at me and goes, yep.
Oh.
And that was, I mean, gosh, that must have been like 7 or 8 years, if not longer ago, but it was just one of those moments where whatever, I was trying to ad lib it and just improv, and the words did not come out. And then I got stuck. I was like, and then we'll eat. And just kind of like awkward smile, and it was like,
That's funny. Yeah, I remember in like my first year of DJing, I what's it called? I butchered a dollar dance. It was so bad that nobody understood what to do, and the bride and groom were just up there, and it was so bad. I remember it traumatized me.
how do you butcher the dollar dance? Like how? Like
I didn't explain it correctly or thoroughly enough to where I remember it being like, oh, you're just going to come dance with the bride or groom.
so they didn't know. Like you didn't even say this is the money dance?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
and I was trying to explain like how the dollar dance was supposed to work, and it wasn't clear. And so everybody was just kind of like looking, and they were
what's
like,
this dude talking about?
did they mean, is the wedding party supposed to just dance with the bride and groom? Is it just us, right? And as I reflect now, I'm like, how did they not get it? The dollar dance has been around forever. But I must have butchered it so bad.
Yeah, they had no idea.
Mm-hmm. And that's what, like, for a solid 6 months, I would push it off to I was the secondary. I'd be like, you can MC, you're good. I'll DJ for this one.
Oh man. Yeah.
But now I'm good. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, these are the trials and tribulations of becoming a the wedding DJ Zia is today.
Yeah.
Okay, you have another one?
I do. We had a second one. This happened at Hyatt Tamiya a couple years ago, but we always hate the chicken dance. It's not mostly requested.
What?
It's usually the most hated, right? And
Usually.
but we had played the chicken dance, and then the groomsmen, it was coordinated. They came up to me and they were like, hey, we have a surprise. Just play the chicken dance at 9:45, like promptly, right at 9:45. And I was like, okay, so I played it. Chicken dance rolling, and I'm not kidding you, 8 guys roll out, chicken outfits, and they're just going, getting everybody. It's hilarious. It was one of the funniest things I had ever seen because I didn't know what to expect, but they were like at 9:45, play it.
It's so funny because I had a wedding the exact same thing.
No kidding.
They're like, we have to play the chicken dance. We do it at every single one of our family weddings, and I was like, okay, whatever. And I play it, and a dude comes out in the chicken costume. And I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, and it's only happened once.
Yeah, that's one time.
But that's funny that you had
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's the same family.
Maybe.
You had the family of 8 chickens, and I had 1 chicken.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my God.
It was funny. I remember like laughing because I didn't even know what to expect because they were just like, play it at 9:45. We got a surprise. I was like, all right.
I know. I was like, do I have to? Look at what I have as the artist of the chicken dance in here.
Who is it?
Some crazy person.
Some crazy guy
crazy
wrote
guy.
this. When did that come out?
Oh my
You know?
gosh, who knows? Yeah, I mean, and then you have to wonder too, like when you start going into, deep thinking on these tracks. Okay, what was this person thinking?
Who started this?
Yeah, who started this and why? And what's the history?
It says the dance first came to the United States in 1981 during Oktoberfest celebrations in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A German band wanted to demonstrate the dance in costume for a local TV station, but a duck costume could not be located, so a chicken costume was used.
It was almost the duck dance.
Hence, chicken dance instead of duck dance.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
So it's like a bird. It's called the birdie song,
The
birdie dance.
Huh.
And so in Germany, they are ducks.
Wow.
Fun fact.
Okay. All right. There you go. You learned something today, peeps.
Yep. Giving you guys some knowledge.
That's right. Dropping bombs today.
Those are my two stories. What about you?
Okay, let's see. I don't have any. I was trying to think. What were some really funny things that have happened, and I know we've had some really
tough.
We've had some funny.
I've had a lot of good weddings where they're just great, and like I've laughed at like a speech.
Well, I was just gonna say we've had some funny toasts, some funny speeches.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything in particular. Like I feel like once every 3 weddings now I get the whole put your hand on top of his. That's the last time you'll have the upper hand in the
Yeah.
marriage. I would get a lot of the cliche stuff.
Yeah.
So that happens all the time. The stuff that was funny 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of a few. I can think of one time in particular at Los Poblanos, and I can't remember if it was either really early in the season or really late, but either way, it was super cold,
Okay.
like freezing. And I feel like it was late in the year, like one of the last
Like
weekend.
a November
It
wedding.
may have been like the very last weekend they had the pool open, and I think now they leave the pool open. It looked like, but before they used to cover it in the winter, and it was like the last wedding that the pool was going to be open. And so what does the wedding party do? They get everybody there at the end. They get all drunk and jump in the pool at the end of the night. And for those that haven't been to Los Poblanos, it's not a heated pool. The pool is not made for swimming anymore. It's just more decor and decoration. And they were freezing. And they're throwing. I remember them throwing some of the bridesmaids into the pool with dresses on and stuff. And I was thinking,
It's got to be like
you
heavy.
guys are crazy. Yeah, number one, like it's heavy. You're in there with, they were fully clothed.
Yeah.
And then they're getting out and just freezing, and there's no
towels. Yeah.
no towels or anything. It was, that was pretty crazy.
It's hilarious.
So,
They're all having a
I was
fun time.
laughing.
Yeah. Oh, it's freezing.
They
This
were-
is a horrible idea.
They were so cold afterward. I remember that happening.
That's funny.
I was looking back at some of just weddings that we've done, and I was like, well, were there any like funny entrances or songs? And this one recently popped up, and bride and groom came into their wedding.
For the reception?
The reception. Grand entrance.
Oh my gosh. I love this movie, so
This is one of the greatest movies ever.
it's funny because it works. Like it's beautiful, you know what I mean? Yes.
That wedding was the best. Yeah. So, I mean, we've had some funny entrances. I remember one time they came into the Star Wars theme,
I've done that one.
and they had
Sabers?
lightsabers.
Yep, I've done that.
I remember, I believe it was the Toppert wedding. It was Chad Toppert and Caitlin. Chad was he's an ex-Lobo basketball player,
Nice.
and they came into I believe it was the Chicago Sirius, basketball
Yeah.
theme, and then I introduced them,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah, I did that last year.
5'5" out of
That
El Dorado High School, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
cool too because we were able to do like a staggered strobe throughout the room, so it really felt like a NBA
yeah.
game. You know what I mean? It was like doo 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 doo. It
Yep.
was so cool the way we had the like.
Those are fun. I like it when people think outside
I
the box
always
with that
tell
stuff.
them, when you want to do unique things like that, it makes my job more fun. So let's go for it.
Yeah, totally.
Because they're like, "Is it okay if we do something like this?" I'm like, "Heck yeah! This makes it way more fun." You know?
Yeah, I wish I had kind of kept better track of. I mean, we've done so many weddings at this point. I just can't think of like anything that just happened super out of the ordinary, like
I've
very
had like some
funny or anything
injuries,
like
right?
that.
Like I've had a grandpa bust his head, crack his head open,
Oh,
and you're
no.
like, oh, okay, what do we do? You know, like those are interesting moments to handle because they're serious, but also you want to keep the party going. I had one person come up to me and be like, kill the music, turn it down for a second. And then another person come up and be like, hey, let's keep the party going. Like, let's stop focusing on this like intense moment and like keep the party going.
Right.
And so it's kind of like a weird medium that you have to find yourself when injuries like that happen, right?
There was one time, I think it was a grandparent, either that or an uncle or something like that. Something happened. It was like a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
And I want to say like they didn't even they just like didn't let the bride or anybody like that they wanted them to just deal with it afterward. I can't remember all the details, and I don't remember if it was even a heart attack, but it was some sort of a medical episode that happened, and they were like, it's going to be all right. We're not letting anybody know about this. They immediately carted him off into like a separate room, and ambulances came up and got him.
I guess that's nice.
I don't
know.
Yeah, I wondered. I remember at the time thinking like, I wonder if I'd want to know, and I think I would. Like,
yeah, right.
if it was like a grandparent or something like that. But then, I
Would
guess
you?
it depends on the severity of of what's
right.
happening, and
Just
just
rolled
like
his ankle. He's
right.
probably fine. But if he's having a heart attack or something, maybe you
Yeah.
should know.
it's I don't know. That's a kind of a tough situation.
Crazy story. My girlfriend Sindra, she still DJs weddings, and Grandpa, this is like 3 months ago, goes into like, I don't know if it's cardiac arrest. He needed CPR. The bride's a nurse, and she goes into full nurse mode and like saves this dude's life, saved Grandpa's life. And she was like, I didn't know what to do. It was
Who did?
crazy. The bride. The bride saved her grandpa's life and had to do like CPR in her dress.
No.
It was crazy.
And that was at Syndra's wedding?
Yeah, like a couple months ago.
Wow.
It was she was like, it was one of the wildest things ever. And I think about the grandpa busting his head, my story and but she was like, yeah, the bride, like literally,
Oh my
had to CPR
gosh.
resuscitate. I was like, that's nuts,
Sheesh.
right?
No, that's insane. That reminds me of I don't know if you all saw this on Facebook. This popped up in my feed yesterday, and I send this
You tagged me in it.
I send this to Tony, and it's a couple getting married, and they're at this beautiful spot. It looks like it's on a lake and outdoors. And this couple, you can tell they just want to have this beautiful nature wedding. And all of a sudden, you hear this loud screaming
like murder
on the other side of the lake, and it literally was murder. It was. Oh my gosh! What would you? So it was like a grizzly bear or a brown bear. It was a bear that was attacking a baby moose, and it's on the other side of the lake. Everybody can see this happening, and you can just hear it. Oh yeah, you have it pulled up right there.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Let's see.
We're gonna let you guys listen to it, and we'll play it on the YouTubes.
This happened in Ireland. Halfway through the wedding vows.
So right now they're looking at this across the way.
The videographer is filming it.
The videographer's filming this. The bear is just mauling this moose.
He's all, this is a moment.
Oh my!
I gotta get it.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do? Like, oh my! I mean, you can't do anything. All right, peeps, we're just gonna sit here and watch nature take its course.
For real. I mean,
Ugh.
hey, you wanted an outdoor wedding.
And when nature calls, I mean, bears get hungry.
Yeah, they do.
And they apparently they didn't have any appetizers set out during the ceremony.
For the ceremony, so the bear was pissed.
Yeah, that's right. He got to the main.
I can't even enjoy the ceremony. I'm hungry.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So I don't know. That's about all I got as far as wedding humor goes.
We figured we would also now extend our grab bag a little bit and maybe find a couple funny stories that we'd seen. Because I found a couple that I thought were just hilarious, and I think this would work well with just funny wedding stories.
Well, sounds good to me. So
I
I think we should just get into it.
So you know what this beat means.
Let's go. You know
yeah.
it because it's the grab bag.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting better.
We're getting better. We were in sync right there.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. I like it. All right. So bring it.
Okay.
What do we got?
So first one here, this one, user Thursday 13, I don't know what's their name, but they write that there was a series of unfortunate events at his wedding. The most unfortunate, though, was when when the couple took photos in front of the cake, and an aunt and her friend mistakenly interpreted the photo taking as a sign it was time to serve it. They carved it up, handed it out, so they never got a moment. They carved it up and handed it out, so we never got to cut the cake. I was robbed of the opportunity to get cake smushed in my face.
Yeah.
So basically, they took a picture in front of the cake, and then the aunt was like, okay, it's time for us to cut it. They've done it. And then they actually never got a photo of them cutting the cake.
Oh, man.
I thought that was hilarious.
Whoops.
Right? So I get a planner.
Okay, there you go, right? I mean,
I mean, a lot of times now, the vendors or the catering staff at the hotel staff is cutting the cake. They're the ones kind of, but, if you're at a Noah's, there's nobody who's going to cut the cake. You need an aunt or somebody, a caterer, to cut it. So I get that, but yeah. Make sure you're communicating with everybody involved on your wedding day.
no kidding. And here's another thing. So, what are your thoughts on a smashing cake in the face?
Don't do it.
Yep.
Don't. It's stupid.
That's what I think too. I know we get people out there that are like, "Oh, it's so funny, and we do it all the time," and yeah, I mean,
It's not that funny.
it's not
It's funny, I guess, right? And you're going to laugh at it because you're
maybe
you got it.
depending, but
Right.
I've been to plenty of them where they decide to do this, and it gets all up in the
They get
bride's
mad.
nose. They get mad. Now we're taking forever. And think about it. So at that point, when we're doing the cake cutting, it's typically after dinner, and we've been there for a couple of hours already, and people are ready to like get to dancing.
Yeah, the night's moving
The
along.
night is moving, and now we have to wait for you to go away out of the
Pause
room.
moment, yeah.
Yeah, and to go get cleaned up, right? And it takes another 15, 20, sometimes even longer, to get you back in shape.
Yeah.
To
Well, a lot of times the first dance will happen right after the cake
Right.
cutting, and that's a really beautiful photographic moment.
and you don't want cake
You got
all over your
Frosting all in your nose. or
Steve
something.
Aoki all up in your face.
Yeah, right. No, I don't see it as a trend, but I've seen people talk about it. What I like now is I'll hear a lot of brides being like, "Don't shove it in my face,"
Right.
right? Like they're really adamant. And stay strong with that, ladies.
what?
And groom.
It's
No
it's
cake.
funny because a lot of times at our final event review, they'll like usually just like talk about it. That's usually when it'll come up. Like usually, and it's usually the guys, right? Us dumb guys
Usually it is.
are talking about it and smashing cake, and I will immediately bring up the pros and the cons.
Yep.
And
let's
really
think
there
about
are
this.
no pros. Okay, so first let's start with the pros. There are none.
I
Here's-
guess a
here's-
good photo, right?
here's the
Like
cons.
maybe. If
You know what? But it's
it's like not even that good of a
not
photo. It's
even
not
that
worth
good.
it.
It's not. It's not worth. It's so not worth it.
Do a faux one.
Yeah.
Dress up and then fake it. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Just don't do it.
I meant like a day later, like
Right.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
Smash the cake in each
Yeah.
other's
Do whatever you want after.
Right.
Yeah. When everybody's not here and waiting to
Exactly.
get to dancing, but
Mhm.
yeah, not cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go into. I've got a TikTok here.
Ooh, nice.
A TikToker.
Tiki-taki.
So let's see what we have here. This is a wedding tip.
Oh, nice.
If there is just one tip I can give you about the DJ, this is it. For us personally, it was really important to have a full dance floor. And I've been to a lot of weddings because I have a lot of cousins, and I noticed one thing that tends to let the dance floor stay full. And it is making sure that the DJ does not let a song completely end. I'm probably going to explain this poorly because I'm not a DJ and that's not my industry, but our request to him was that he transitioned one song into the next. Instead of letting a song play fully from start to finish, after about a minute and a half, he would kind of fade it into a new song. This meant there were no pauses on the dance floor for people to come and go, so it stayed full. And this also meant that we were able to have a lot more songs played throughout the night. And it worked because our dance floor was full from start to finish and people asked for an encore.
All right. So there you have it. There's a bride, and actually I believe she's a planner, that believes in mixing. And it was really funny. One of the comments here, it said, let me see if I can find it real quick. Basically, it said, "Oh, I get it. So actually let the DJ be a DJ."
Do his job, right? The DJ be a DJ. That's funny.
Yeah, it was really funny.
I agree. I think
Here's one. Isn't this what DJs do?
Yeah.
LOL. You know what? So it's the thing is there's a lot of people, a lot of DJs, wedding DJs in particular, that don't mix.
Yeah,
They
just let it
don't
play
beat
from
match.
one-
They don't live mix. They don't quick mix. They're just letting songs run out from one to the next. Pauses in between,
It's crazy.
and it just
It falls back onto that not playing the full amount of the song, right? And it just goes to show you that they don't want to hear the full amount of the song. They want to keep the night going, and with the ability to music mashup and music mix, it just makes it for a better experience overall.
especially when you get into just different types of sets, and you really need to be able to lock in on your group, right? I mean, if this is a group that is super into hip hop, to be able to quick mix in a hip hop set makes it feel so much like you're in a nightclub vibe.
Yeah.
When you're doing dance music, to be able to beat match seamlessly from one track to the next, maybe doing a verse and chorus and go from one to the next, it makes it feel like you're curating a soundtrack specifically for them in that
Exactly.
night, right?
Yeah.
And it makes it feel like one big giant long dance sesh, and that's what people want. Like, they want to be out on the dance floor, and in all honesty, it's a way to keep people on the dance floor.
Yeah. And then when they put in their personal requests and you're remixing all of the stuff that they want to hear, it really does feel unique to them and a very strong experience that they felt that they were like not only a part of, but they helped like contribute to it, right? Like I feel like when they hear their songs mixed and hear new versions of the songs that they wanted to hear, they're like, oh, you know what I mean? They just lose it.
Totally.
So
yeah, so that was kind of it was nice to hear that from somebody that they actually appreciate the DJ.
that's very good to hear. I always worry about people wanting to hear more of the song because I get those, but I don't know. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you kind of have to read it, and it depends on the genre, the kind of song.
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
if it's a country song, I'm playing a country song out. They're there to dance to that.
Yeah.
They're out there on the dance floor to two-step to that song. Same with salsa, merengue, that sort of thing.
I feel like you use those moments though as the song ends, it's a very good way to show that you're going to transition into something drastic, right?
Yeah.
When it goes completely out and then boom, you hit them with something hard, right?
Right.
This is how we do it, right? Like that's it's more impactful when it goes to that kind of silence for 1 second.
Totally. All right, cool. You got another one?
Yeah, I do. So this one is pretty funny. So it just says, note to self, check on the state of your DJ's love life before allowing him or her to work your wedding. Just ask user, this is Berlin Blades. The DJ at his wedding was dumped the night before the ceremony, and she only played breakup songs at the reception. It's messed up, man.
What the heck?
That's so bad. The good news? The bride took over for a few hours until a replacement could be found, and she was an absolute hit.
What?
Plus, the big black headphones and mixer looks cool with a wedding dress, is what she said.
So the bride took over DJing because the DJ was butthurt. He was sad from being dumped the night before.
Yep.
Oh my God. What the heck?
You lose.
Right? And it's funny because it reminds me of The Wedding Singer, where he does that wedding and then he's about to get married, right? And then she leaves him at the altar and then he has to sing a wedding the next day, and so it's pretty funny.
Love stinks?
Love stinks. Yeah.
Love stinks!
Love stinks.
Can you imagine your DJ?
This is the DJ.
Love stinks?
Love stinks. Yeah. Love stinks.
That is so funny.
Oh my gosh.
And then the dad just wails on. Love stinks. So yeah, make sure. Check on the state of not only your DJ. He's probably the most impactful, but I think that's a good thing. I've never been asked, "How am I doing? Are you good? Are you in the right mental space for my wedding day?" Now, with that said, I'm not expecting it to be asked. But if somebody asked, I'd be like, you know what, I feel pretty good. It was actually interesting. I had the mom of this past weekend. She was very helpful, very wanted to make sure I was being taken care of. And so I was good, right? But I wanted her to know that I had a very good attitude about the day and being confident in all of that. And so I felt like it was the exact opposite, where she was handling stress and all these things, but she found peace in knowing that that vendor was solid and good and he didn't need that part, right? So
Zia, on a scale of 1 to 10, can you tell me your emotional well-being at this point in time before you play my
right,
my
it's
first
funny because I
dance?
say like I say ask them, but then I'm like, why? They should be okay. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I think if you feel could ask.
So
I don't
here's
know.
the thing, all right. As a professional, you need to be able to put
Oh
your
yeah,
personal garbage and whatever, you know,
yeah, you leave it at the door.
you leave it at the door. It doesn't matter. This is
Doesn't
the
matter.
Super Bowl, people.
This is not your day.
This is not your day. It's the Super Bowl, and your emotional well-being, they can care less.
It means nothing that
It
day.
means nothing, and it shouldn't mean anything to them.
Not to say it's not important, but on
Right,
that wedding day,
yeah.
you have to drop it. It's just as simple as that.
You
Like,
know what? We've all had
Super
bad
Bowl.
days. That's all there is to it. To be at peak performance, you need to put it and leave it at the door.
Yep.
Be a professional. Show up, smiles on,
Mhm.
and it's game on, and you rock that day out. No matter what. I can't think of how many times that for whatever reason stuff has gone on earlier in the day before.
Yep.
It might even be as bad as you getting a flat tire on the way, or it doesn't matter. You got to figure out a way to get through it.
Yep.
And
I shattered my rear window.
yeah.
Like, I closed my door, packing up my car, shattered it, and I was like, oh my God, what a great way to start my day, right? And then it's fine. It doesn't matter because I'm here for them. Like, you have to learn how to take on those stresses and deal with them and really understand that you're not there to deal with that right then, but you're there to be there for the couple, you know?
Yep, agreed. So, yeah. Well, that's interesting. Okay, I've got another ticker talker.
Nice.
Let's go. This one's a wedding planner as well. I believe she is a florist.
Okay.
Wedding industry secrets from someone who's worked in the wedding industry for 5 years, part 1. Hey, I'm Brittany. I've been a wedding florist for 4.5 years.
Hi,
This one
Brittany.
actually might get me in trouble, but I have to get it off my chest. Don't use the knot. Don't use Wedding Wire. Those kind of companies. They market themselves like they're showing you the best vendors in your area. They're not. They're showing you the vendors that are willing to pay for their marketing, which is really expensive and ineffective. And I'm not saying there are no good vendors on those websites, because there absolutely are. But most of my friends in the industry that have been around for a long time have kind of realized that the marketing is really ineffective and really expensive, and that you can spend your money better elsewhere. So I suspect that most of the vendors that are like paying for like the top slots on these websites are vendors who are actually somewhat new. So where do you find your vendors, you might ask? Well, I will tell you in part 2.
Google.
So it was interesting, and the part of that I really liked what she said was that those that are paying for those top spots are probably newer vendors. And she's probably right.
Yeah.
And so the Knot and Wedding Wire and some of these other, just wedding vendor sites are interesting, and really it's market based as well. So I think, unfortunately for Albuquerque, we're not a big metroplex like a Dallas, a New York City, L.A., even Phoenix and Denver, and so we just don't have nearly as many vendors in each of the categories here as like some of those other ones. We're not as saturated, given the market.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's right. For us, we don't pay for the Knot to be in the Knot or Wedding Wire or even any of the local, vendor, what would you call those, like collective things, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's not really, it's a matter of the decision is because I feel like we can best use that budget and that money elsewhere for things to make us stand out, and a lot of it has to do with reputation as it stands.
Yeah.
I used to pay for some of that early on, and that's just like she said, when you're trying to break in, you're trying to do whatever you can to get seen on
It helps like
online.
give some credibility too.
Yeah, well, and the thing is the Knot and Wedding Wire have wedding SEO just nailed.
Yeah.
So anytime you enter for a vendor, let's just say you're going DJs in Albuquerque, they're going to show up like 1 and 2. And then people are going to probably click on those, and then they're going to go in and start looking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see where that is somewhat beneficial, maybe.
It's a nice consolidated place for what you're looking for. So I
Right.
understand how
Right.
that
So
could be useful.
and I think people are going to go to those, and they're going to look, and they're going to start seeing. And then what they're going to do is they're going to keep looking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think those that keep on appearing in different searches on the Wedding Wire, then they're going to go to Google, and they're going to see reviews, and then they're going to see, they're going to, start seeing a pattern. I think with the ones that are really truly trusted and that do a really good job.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think when she goes into her part 2, she really talks about talking to your other vendors, and that's where the gold lies, is with who's referring who within the industry, within the who's of the industry, right?
Yeah.
So, this is the one thing I love. You just were talking about how, you go and do 4 seasons, and now just by you being there, we didn't ask, and we don't pay to be on any vendor lists anywhere, we probably won't.
We just do our thing, and they ask us.
I refuse to pay to play. It just, I don't know, it doesn't feel authentic to me, right? I feel like if you are truly good enough at what you do, the word gets out, and it goes the reverse. And this is why when I talk about reviews, I always tell our crew, like, we're only as good as our last review, right? Because all it takes is one bad one to now that's the current review. That's your current state. That's the level that you are currently at.
Yeah.
And if you have some bad reviews, especially if it's multiple or the word is out with you with different venues and coordinators, like they talk.
Yeah, they do.
They talk, people, and they say, don't use them. Don't use this person. Don't use that person. Or we had an experience with this guy, and it can make it very tough. So
yeah, it kind of leads back to like that, how I was talking about the photographer and how it leaves PTSD for other, like they just think about that one person, and then they kind of, I don't know, categorize every single DJ in that one experience, And
right.
So I think, it's important to make sure you really are paying attention to those experiences with the couples as well as the vendors. The vendors are the people you work with every single weekend. You work with the client once, not always like that, but like for us, we get out of 10 maybe 2 a repeat, you know what I mean, whether it's another event or their cousin's getting married, so they referred us to them because they were at the wedding.
Right.
But a lot of the times we're getting new clients, so our relationships are really, really strong with the vendors.
But I'll say this right now, I bet you, and I haven't looked at the numbers. We use a planning system or a CRM that actually tracks this, and we put it in there, like who's referred us. But I would be pretty confident in saying I bet you 7 to 8 out of 10 weddings that we get right now have some sort of referral influence, whether it's from a vendor, a planner, an event coordinator, and other peeps in the industry. So those relationships are super important. And for me, those relationships mean more than paying the knot in the Wedding Wire. I used to pay, I can honestly say this, in those years, and I can't remember, it was maybe 5 or 6 years that I paid. And at that time, it wasn't nearly as expensive as it is now. And what these sites do is they reel you in, right? So they give you a nice low rate for 1 year, and then to re-up, it's like crazy. It's crazy money, especially if you want to be whatever it is.
The number one.
Get to the platinum level or whatever. They got different tiers, right? And so it's crazy numbers, and I never once booked one wedding off of any of those.
Yeah, see, that just goes to show you, right? Like those dollars are not being spent there. That's just kind of a business thing.
At least not directly. And I should say this and put this in there. It's not to say that it doesn't completely work, because once again, if people are seeing you in a lot of different places, well, then that works, right? Like if they're seeing us in the Knot, on Wedding Wire, on the New Mexico Wedding Collective, on these all these different sites online, they collectively help.
Yeah.
But at some point, the SEO generated,
I feel like
supersedes.
I see those pros, but we find business and more clients and just overall more bookings through different avenues.
Right.
And it's
You know,
just that simple.
we don't do wedding shows, and we've had a lot of people that ask us, hey, or they might say, hey, we were expecting to see, and it's always couples that have already booked us.
Yeah.
Hey, we thought we'd see you at the the wedding show last weekend, and we don't do them. And I have nothing against wedding shows. I could sit here, I mean, and talk about on a whole episode.
Great way to talk to a lot of people and get your brand out there. It's a really good strategy.
Yeah, but what's crazy is what we have found is that the couples that we target, honestly, they don't attend those shows for the most part.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I've never really thought about that, but they really don't.
Yeah, they're not. So it has a lot to do with that, and then just
We get
once
a lot
again,
out of town,
and
a lot of location weddings,
and the money that you have to spend for that. I feel like I'm spending money to go hang out with my frienders, which I don't mind, but I'd rather go hang out with you at the bar, and buy you a drink, and talk shop than to go spend a whole afternoon.
Let's go throw some axes.
Yeah, I mean, just my time with my family.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Means a lot more to me. And then so here's the other thing, and then our calendars is completely booked. So why am I going to go spend this extra money into the knot, into shows, into things like that when we already have to turn away events?
Exactly. Like we're already overbooked, or we're for certain days, right? There's some where we're all three out booked out that weekend, and so it just shows us that we're good. We don't really need those. Like maybe I don't even know. I feel like we do a good job at everything else, socials, Google, relationships, so that we don't have to fall back on these things.
Right. Yeah. So, well, and it allows us to put the budget in other areas.
Yes.
Like buying awesome podcast equipment for our 20 listeners.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's a good experience.
Hey.
I like to look back at episode 1 or episode 2 on YouTube and like just look at the layout, even listen to it, right? Like it sounds so much better.
It is. We're way better in episode 14 here than we were in episode 2. God, I can't wait till episode 24.
Yeah.
It's going to be even more better.
Crazy stat I heard was, we've talked about it a little bit, but it's like 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3. And then in that 10%, they don't make it past 21. Wow. So if we can get past 22, we're in we're already way up there in percentage of pods.
We're gonna crank out.
That's nuts, huh?
10 podcasts this week. So this is what we just didn't hit.
It's all about being consistent.
So we can hit episode 22.
There's days where I'm like, we got to do the pod. It's every week, and we're thinking about things. But I appreciate this consistency that we do, and it's fun. It's
been fun. I like it too.
I like how easy it is too. We just kind of come up with topics and then just chat about it.
And then just babble.
So,
we hope you guys enjoy the babble.
We appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us.
But it is time.
Oh, ho, ho.
It's time to move on.
The best part.
And get back to the music. Great Scott.
Love it.
Good stuff. Well, cool.
Yeah, those are some good 80s tracks. I feel like 80s music is just so well received. That's why I'm saying, like, the 80s were a dope time. The music was sick, and just the overall colors, the neon, everything was so fun. And like,
yeah, we need to do an 80s night at Revel.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like full blown. Theme it out. Like, you need to come dressed up in your...
I did one last year, and it was a lot of fun.
Dude, we need to do that. I think that'd be super fun with both of us. And
80s night
just
is so
80s
sick.
it out with the tubes and everything.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh. Nice. I think there's only one way for us to end this episode today.
With a nacho. I appreciate you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, guys. I think that's going to do it for us this week on the Cutmaster Cast. We appreciate you all. We'll do it again next week.
Shout out Nacho. Thank you all for tuning in. See you guys later.